Hey there guys, welcome back to Let's Play 999. 9 persons, 9 hours, and 9 doors. After the end of last episode, something happened that I did not know was going to happen. What ended up occurring was that the little intro to the game came up, and it wasn't the same intro. I actually exited out as soon as it started because I already stopped recording and I didn't want to see it yet. So I've seen maybe the first 10 seconds or so of this. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. No. So it's interesting, it says Preview A. That was not there at all before, and there is no other option. So it seems odd to give me a choice. That may mean there's after we actually beat the game, there's yet another preview that will come up. I don't know. We'll find out, though. $1912. Gourdain? I can't read that. Who do you think did it? Is that what that said? Now it's time. Let our game begin. Oh, that's it? Interesting. I thought it would be longer than that. Who do you think did it? Okay. So it tried to go back to the prologue, which I don't really want it to do, but I kind of need it to actually, indeed. So this is the beginning of the game. I need you to get through your little, because I want to talk about what my plan is. So can you finish up what you're doing? Unfortunately, you kind of, as far as I know, actually have to wait for it to get to a prompt where I actually get to do something. And it definitely goes through its little intro sequence for a second. Kitty, please move. You can skip all the dialogue very, very effectively, which is nice, but you can't skip the sound effects, so it always stops and goes burr, 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 burr. And yep, you have to have him smash on things and try and get out. Can't get out, Junpei. So there's his memory. Here comes the water. Here comes the water to drown us all. I wonder if everyone else had the flooding room and the water thing. Because they didn't. They talked about having to get out of their room. They didn't have to talk about the threat of imminent death showing up. Okay. What is the stupid button? There we go. Flowchart. So, from what I understand, what I'm guessing is that, and I've been wrong about this before, but last time I now have the key. I got the key, because I was looking at this last time, by coming along here and getting all the key pieces, and went into the safe room and actually got this. So, now that I have the key and I have the... because there's the safe room lock. I believe I have to go back to here, go this direction with the key that I picked up by going this direction, and play through the game again. So I'm going to play through here, play through there, play that way, and I will see you right here, which should trigger us into that ending, which should be the actual ending. Because this, I believe, is what people are calling the knife ending. And the knife ending is something they were like, yeah, at this point in the game, the knife ending won't really help you. So, here we go. So, guys. So, unfortunately, I have to be smart about which one we go through. Oh, it's so fun to watch them. That one, there's no reason to... there's no reason to argue. And door 4 was the first one I went through. So I'm going to go through door 4. I'm going to proceed through the game, and I will see you when we hopefully are at the ending. See you in just a second, guys.
Truly exists.
Hey, guy. So I'm playing through the game, and I came across this thing in the freezer, and I don't know whether this is relevant or not. I've been kind of picking some other options in cases where I didn't think it was really important, one way or the other. But then I was like, oh, hey, yeah, let's talk about metaphysics and things. And in the freezer, the last time I was here, I was like, oh my god, get out of the freezer, oh my god, get out of the freezer, oh my god, get out of the freezer. So this time I'm like, oh, sure, let's talk about it. And then they start talking about Ice 9, and it's a ice that has a melting point of 96 degrees and how it actually exists. And I've never heard of this before, so you know what?
Wait, hold up. So is this thing called Ice 9, or is it water?
I mean, if it's ice is 96 degrees, it's probably ice more than it's water.
Like I said, if the ice is over 96 degrees, it'll be liquid. If it's under that, it'll solidify. So you could think of it as a polymorph of H2O.
That's interesting. It's H2O turned into a sheep.
Here, think of it like diamonds and graphite. They're both made of carbon, right? But depending on the structure of the crystallization, the hardness and structure are completely different.
I do like that. Whoo.
So you're saying normal water and this Ice 9 are like that?
Yup.
She wasn't
Have
finished.
you heard the story about the crystallization of glycerin?
I have not. You mean nitroglycerin?
For 150 years after the discovery of glycerin, people cooled it, warmed it. They did all sorts of things to it. But whatever they did, it never crystallized.
Interesting. I have never heard any of this before. I can see now you're like, oh, you should have picked the other one.
However, one day in 1920, some glycerin on its way to England by ship was discovered to have crystallized during the trip.
It's gonna be another thing where, like, all over the world, it all crystallized.
Scientists around the world wanted to research this new crystallized form of glycerin and asked for seeds. Oh, a seed is a sample of the original crystallized substance. With a seed crystal, further crystallization of glycerin would be easy. However, something very strange happened.
I think I may have heard about this before.
Not only did the glycerin encouraged by seed crystals begin to crystallize, even the samples nearby did, even though they were tightly sealed.
Yeah, this game is really obsessed with, like, communal thought or communal understanding.
And it didn't end there. After that day, it doesn't matter where in the world it is. All glycerin crystallizes naturally when cooled to less than 64 degrees.
Really?
Before that day, no matter how glycerin was cooled, it refused to crystallize.
So we found a less stubborn form of glycerin out there.
But once the crystallization had begun, it was almost like... how do I put it? It was almost like all the glycerin in the world was communicating. Communicating in some way that we can't sense. And now it's happening everywhere.
I don't know. It was, in fact, a pretty interesting story.
Wow, that's pretty interesting. But, what does that have to do with Ice 9?
To his surprise, it was Santa, not June, who answered.
What she's saying is that it's a lot like Ice 9. What happened, I mean.
A lot like? Oh, that would be bad. If water everywhere started freezing at 96 degrees, man.
It'd be the end of the world.
She felt that Santa might not be treating the idea of the end of the world with the proper concern. Well, probably because he's freezing to death. I mean, that makes sense.
At any rate, we're not gonna have to worry about the end of the world unless we can get out of here pretty damn quick.
He was right.
Alright, guys. I think that's enough of that. I didn't think we'd get quite this far off topic. I mean, I know I'm kinda at fault here, but we can't be screwing around anymore. So seriously, I might go by the name Santa right now, but I didn't grow up in Iceland.
You mean Greenland?
I freaking hate the cold. So let's get cracking, alright? We gotta find a way out of here.
Santa stopped off, clearly doing his best to pretend the cold wasn't affecting him.
Selfish, isn't he?
But not really, he's trying not to die. Still, he was right. It's high time they got back to their search.
Ice 9 is interesting and all, but we can discuss it more once we get out of this freezer.
Joey looked at June, nodded, and resumed a search of the room. Alright, and so we will go ahead and continue what we're doing. Alright, got that. So I will see you again when I get to something interesting. I thought I would see you when I got to the place where the ending will resume from, but apparently not. So, boop. Hi there, guys. So, another strange bit of... We just got the chemicals from this room, and we're talking to Seven, because Seven's a cool guy. And after he told his story, Junpei interrupted him and was like, oh yeah, like there's, you know, things are communicating the way we can't see. And Seven was like, wait, what? Last time, of course, we just let him talk because we hadn't gone down that route before.
Ice 9? Ice 9. Ice 9. Ice, ice, ice.
Ice, ice, 9A. Bum, 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 bada, bum, bum. Suddenly, Seven's eyes shot open.
That's it. I remember now. That woman, she's on this boat.
Wait, this is definitely something we didn't run into before. What?
That woman?
Alice!
Who's Alice?
Come on. The woman who won't melt at room temperature.
Wait, what?
Huh?
It became clear to Seven that Junpei had no idea what he was talking about. He ran his hand across his face and took a deep breath.
You know how the Titanic sank on April 15th, 1912, right?
Yes, I am aware that that happened.
Yeah, more than 1,500 people died. Worst maritime accident in history. What about it?
Did you hear about the boat that was sent to collect the dead bodies?
I did not hear about that.
I think that was the RMS Carpathia, right?
How the hell do you know that?
It was a cruise liner, just like the Titanic.
No, that was the ship that picked up the survivors. The ship that collected the dead bodies was the CS McKay Bennett.
Interesting.
The McKay Bennett showed up on April 17th, 2 days after the accident. It set out from Halifax, a port in Canada, and recovered 306 bodies.
Really, Canada was the closest one? I didn't think that.
The Atlantic that far north was really cold. It would have to be for there to be icebergs and stuff. Anyway, the bodies they pulled out of the water were frozen solid.
This isn't a very nice story. So, what happened next?
I love the way Junpei handles it. It's like, this isn't a great story.
Well, they say the McKay Bennett recovered something more than just dead bodies. There were various bits of stuff floating around in the water. Things the drowned had carried with them, or stuff that dislodged as the ship sank.
I mean, that makes sense.
One of the things they found was a coffin.
A coffin?
Yeah, a wooden one. The craftsman who made it must have been pretty skilled.
Okay. Why would, if they're big, I guess with being bodies, but why would you randomly fish out a
It
coffin?
wasn't just a wooden coffin. It was all wood. No nails, no reinforcements, no gaps in the wood anywhere. The thing was airtight. The crew got pretty curious about what might be inside it and opened it up.
What did you think would be inside a coffin?
They had to get a wedge and hammer it open. It was so well made. Inside, they found a woman. Or, I guess you should say, they found the dead body of a woman.
Interesting. I do think we heard in one of the other ones the story about how the Titanic was carrying an ancient Egyptian priestess or pharaoh or something, and it was the pharaoh's curse that it was the reason that the Titanic ran into such misfortune. Is this kind of the same thing?
Her hair was thick and black, and her skin rich brown with no blemishes or signs of decomposition. They say that she looked gorgeous, like a goddess. She was obviously dead, but everyone who looked at her said she just looked like she was sleeping. Her skin was so lifelike, she looked like she might wake up any minute. And she didn't, though.
Well, hopefully not.
Like the rest of the bodies they found, she was frozen solid. Eventually, the McKay Bennett finished searching and returned to Halifax. The 306 bodies were unloaded and taken ashore. However, it was warm enough that they began to thaw. They say that the stink was horrible.
Well, yeah, that's decomposition for you.
But there was one body that didn't thaw.
That's kind of where you said this was the woman that wouldn't thaw.
And that was...
Ooh, I know!
The girl in the coffin.
You called Alice for some reason.
That's right. Everybody thought for sure that she'd melt and start to rot like the rest of them eventually. But weeks passed and nothing happened. Then a month passed, and another. And it was summer, and she was still frozen solid.
Why'd you call her Alice of all things if she was Egyptian?
After a while, people started to say she was some sort of miracle. Rumors about her started to spread.
If she's a miracle, why did she sink the Titanic? I thought that she was a curse.
People came to visit Halifax from all over. After a while, people started to call her All Ice. Alice.
Okay. So Ice 9 and All Ice are...
Of course, those rumors didn't last long.
Why?
Well, she up and disappeared. One day Alice was there, the next day she wasn't.
So when you said she, didn't wake up, but you may have been lying? Like, did she just wander off someday?
They say someone snuck into where they were keeping her and stole the body. With the body gone, the rumors followed pretty quickly. After a while, no one remembered her.
Oh, I'll never forget.
You might be able to find something about her if you could find a newspaper from back then, but that's about it.
Wait, you just said that she was on this boat.
Yeah, I did. Alice has got to be somewhere on this ship.
Why? What? Other than us being a replica of the Titanic, what does she have to do with this ship at all?
Why the hell would you say something like that?
Because I know.
Okay, that's not a reason.
And just what is it you know?
What happened to Alice after she was stolen?
God damn, 7! Junpei gulped.
Alright, tell me. What happened to Alice?
I'll bite. 7 nodded slowly and took a good look of a man recalling something long buried.
Well, around that time, the word was that there was a special black market in New York. All millionaires from all over the world.
And back then, millionaire meant something.
I've heard that Alice went up for auction there. The person who won the auction was... Lord Dameol Gordain.
Oh, yeah, that's the name that was in the, intro.
You've heard that name before, right?
Yeah, that was the name of the intro.
Lord Gordain. Oh, isn't he the guy who bought the Gigantic? The Titanic system?
Oh yeah, they also talked about that. I'd forgotten that he was involved in that.
Yeah, that's him. Although I guess he hadn't done that yet.
What do you mean?
Gordain bought Alice in 1912. And 4 years later, in 1916, he bought the Gigantic.
I thought I guess 1912 is the actual year it sunk. I was thinking it sank later.
And he hid Alice somewhere on the Gigantic. But nobody knows where. He died in 1931. And apparently he died without ever telling anyone where Alice was hidden.
Other than on the Gigantic?
However,
what?
well, he did have one close friend who asked him, "Where is Alice?" And he said,
It's interesting I'm in novel mode, and basically it's not noveling at all.
"Alice sleeps in a small chamber past the Forest of Knowledge beneath the navel of the Gigantic."
Well, that's a super... So, past the library... Excuse me.
What the hell is that? Is it some kind of riddle?
Your guess is as good as mine.
7 threw his hands up in defeat.
So that's it. Whatever you think, I believe it.
That's a very nonplussed way of going about things.
She's hidden somewhere on the Gigantic. In other words, she's hidden somewhere on this ship.
Virginia set another bizarre claim. Oh, that...
Hey, what are you two doing over there?
Why did it actually do the 2?
Stop wasting time and get over here.
We're talking about important man things like dead bodies.
Okay, we're coming.
Jeez.
So I looked at Junpei.
Yeah, so anyway, that's the story. It might be useful someday. Don't forget it.
I'll do my best.
Alice. Huh.
Junpei was left behind to ponder what he just heard. He tried to remember what June had told him earlier.
That mummy wasn't just a normal mummy. They say that she was frozen.
Okay, that was part of this. Since I'm skipping stuff I've seen already, I didn't remember that I'd actually heard it. I just remembered that I'd heard it in a previous playthrough.
The story says that from the time of its discovery all the way through to when it got put on the Titanic, even though it was carried through the desert, her body never melted.
It's actually echoing in the game, guys. That's not me.
Then was that Egyptian priestess Alice? Did the water in her body become Ice 9?
Interesting idea.
No, that's nuts. There's no way somebody like that could exist.
Junpei shook his head, trying desperately to clear it, and followed 7 in the operating room where Clover was waiting. Alright, guys, and once again, I will see you whenever I get to something else that's interesting and new. See you there, guys. Hey there, guys. So we are now in the chart room, and we just got Ace to go into the wheelhouse. Another issue that I did not realize was new until I happened to go for a little bit, but...
I don't want anyone to overhear us.
So we need to ask Clover
I'm
something.
pretty sure Clover won't talk if there's anyone else around. That's why when Ace showed up again, I got a little desperate. I had to make him leave.
Ace opened his mouth and took another and shut it again. A small smirk appeared on his face.
Oh, I see. Of course.
Junpei over. And went to Clover.
I apologize for the intrusion.
So I remember before he kind of came in and went out, came in and went out, but I didn't think much of
Well,
it.
Best of luck.
This gives Junpei a knowing pat on the shoulder and left. Junpei let out a sigh and brushed a few drops of sweat from his forehead. He turned and found himself looking straight in Clover's eyes. She had heard what Ace had said. She regarded Junpei with caution.
What was that about?
She was clearly suspicious, and with good
Why
reason.
are you looking at me like that?
Junpei's eyes widened, and he held up his hands in a gesture of innocence.
No, it's not like that.
I really like Junpei's voice actor. He does a fantastic job.
What's it like then?
I just wanted to hear the rest of that story. I didn't get a chance to ask you about it until now.
What story?
About the experiment, remember? The one you started to tell me in the operating room?
I wonder why this happened here, because the first time I played the game, I did basically the same path, but he never asked about it. But now he
You
is.
said something about an experiment that happened here 9 years ago.
Clover bit her lip. She stared down at the floor for several long moments, and when she spoke, it was barely audible.
I'm sorry, but I don't want to talk about that right now.
Oh.
I'm just not in the mood, okay?
Well, apparently I still didn't do something.
You understand, right? I keep thinking about my brother. I can't stop. I mean, who would do something like that to my brother?
I wonder if this is what prevents this from becoming the axe ending. Because doesn't this lead to the axe ending in the other, this is what eventually gets there, except because we somehow managed to unlock this scene, and the only thing I think of is that in the freezer we heard about Ice 9, which that seems a very tenuous connection, because I don't think I've done anything else different, but knowing about Ice 9 let us get a little bit more about 7, from 7 when we were talking to him, and now we're getting this scene, so apparently Ice 9 is just pivotal.
I can't forgive them. I'm not gonna let them get away with it. They're gonna pay for it. I promise. So...
Again, I don't know who these voice actors are, but they do a really, really, really good job. And maybe it's part of the core for visual novels, but it's just, Her shoulders were shaking. Drops of blood had sprung up on her lips where she was biting them. She wiped it off and looked up at Junpei, her eyes fierce and angry.
Junpei, who do you think did it?
Her voice was cold and scarcely above a whisper. Junpei gulped.
Well, if what Seven said was right, then there would have to be at least 2 of them. You need at least 3 people to open the numbered doors, and if you subtract Snake, that means there were at least 2 other people.
That's true. Except we now know that's not what happened, and I almost wish I could say that, because I actually thought of it at the time.
You're right. So, what does that mean?
Well, if we just look at the bracelet numbers, we should be able to figure it out. Who could have opened door 3 with Snake? Well, really, who and who, or who and who?
You mean it could have been 4 people?
It's possible.
Well, technically, it's possible.
I don't know. That doesn't seem very likely.
This is the exact same mental thought process I went through. I'm like, the more people you add, the less likely it actually is, because you have to have a lot of people all wanting to kill Snake for no reason.
Why?
I'll tell you later.
Clover, you can't do that.
Why don't we just assume it was only 2 other people for now?
Okay, got it. Let's do that then.
Then who do you think it could be?
Jack crossed his arms in thought. Snake's bracelet number was 2. With 2 bracelet numbers added to 2 would give a digital root of 3. Okay, will not let me say Ace and the 9th man, which is unfortunate. So, Santa and 7. That's the only one that actually will do it, even though I know that's not correct.
Would it be Santa and 7?
2 plus 3 plus 7 is 12. 1 equals 1 plus 2 equals 3.
The digital root for Snake, Santa, and 7 is 3. Wait, hold on. Are Santa and 7 the killers?
I even made a video about this right after it happened, but I was incorrect.
What's wrong?
Clover looked at Junpei, and he looked right back at her. There was no point in hiding it.
I thought about it, and
He told her his conclusions.
That's what I thought.
She looked less surprised than he'd expected.
Santa and 7. If it was 2 people, then that's the only combination that works.
hey, wait a minute there. Don't you think it's a little too early to be jumping to conclusions? Well, all I said is that those 2 would have been able to open door 3 with your brother. There might be other possibilities.
Well, what other possibilities?
He didn't have an answer. I've got an answer. I totally have an answer to this question. He was ready to admit defeat when Clover spoke.
Are you saying you think that it was 3 or 4 people? I really don't think that's likely.
Why not?
Can I borrow your pen and paper?
Of course, absolutely. Me pen and paper says Sue pen and paper. Clover put her hand out expectantly.
Yeah, here.
Jimmy pulled out his pen and paper, and a piece of paper. He handed it to her. She opened the notebook and wrote down several simple addition problems. Eventually, she had 8, which provided a digital root of 3. This is actually remarkably similar to what I actually did with it. 2, 1 plus 3 plus 6, 2 plus 1 plus 4 plus 5, 2 plus 4 plus 7 plus 8, 2 plus 5 plus 6 plus 8, 2 plus 1 plus 3 plus 7 plus 8. You can read it. I'm not going to read it to you.
What's this?
These are the combinations for 3 or 4 people. These 8 combinations are the only possible ones.
I don't blame her, but she's leaving 9 completely out of the equation.
Oh, I see.
Junpei,
Yeah?
I can trust you, right?
I mean, I can say yes.
Of course. Why would you need to ask that?
Really?
Yeah.
So then I should get rid of B, D, G, and H, right?
Of course. Just cross them out. And you should take off yours too. The ones with 4.
So, what does that leave?
I don't know. I can't see the paper anymore.
A and E.
Two plus 1 plus 3 plus 6. 2 plus 1 plus 3 plus 7 plus 8. This is almost exactly what I did, because I remember saying Santa was in every combination I could think of, other than Ace and the Ninth Man.
Wait, it can't be A.
Why?
Because June's in that one. There's no way in hell she'd do something like that.
Are you sure?
Yeah, that seems like wish fulfillment more than logic.
I bet my life on it.
How interesting.
Okay then. I can cross off A too, right?
Yeah.
Well, what have we got left?
E.
Which the only real difference is that it adds Ace and Lotus in addition to the 2 he'd already identified.
Do you know what this means?
Everyone besides me, you, and June would be working together.
Do you think that's likely?
Yeah, that's incredibly unlikely.
If there were 4 people working together, they wouldn't be very cautious. I don't think they'd try that hard to hide what they were doing if they outnumbered us, right?
That certainly makes sense.
Well, you do have a point.
And besides, if Ace and 7 are working together, they could have easily gotten rid of me when I went to the shower room with them. But they didn't. They didn't even try anything.
And it also doesn't make sense for anyone to be killing any anyone whenever you need people to get through the doors. I don't think anyone except for Ace has figured out the whole bracelet trick yet.
If they were killers, why wouldn't they?
Her voice was calm, but Junpei only had to look at her eyes to know it was a forced calm. There were tears forming at the corners of her eyes, and she was blinking furiously to keep them back. Perhaps by attending an objective analysis who article wrote, she'd been able to distance herself from the harsh reality of his death. The more she struggled to act unconcerned, the more Junpei felt his heart tighten.
I see. Anyway, I understand now. It seems pretty unlikely that it was as many as 3 or 4 people.
Yeah,
Then that means there's a good chance it was Santa and Seven.
that's how it looks.
I have an alternate solution.
But why would they do it?
There was a moment of silence.
Their motive.
He laid his hand gently on her shoulder. He was close, so close to the answer. When Ace chose the worst possible moment to return. He raised a knowing eyebrow and then spoke.
Have I interrupted something?
What is it?
There was something I wanted to speak with you about, Junpei. Could you come with me for a moment?
He turned on his heel and walked back towards the wheelhouse. Is this? No, okay.
Go ahead.
I would want to know if this is when he was going to search Junpei.
Okay.
Junpei looked at Clover. He gave her a short nod, hoping she would be willing to talk to him again later, and then followed Ace.
What did you want to talk about?
Ace looked at Junpei and smiled. That was more of a smirk than a
There
smile.
was something I wanted to check.
Yeah? What's that?
If you'll excuse me.
With no warning, Ace slipped his hand in the pocket of Junpei's vest.
Hey, what the hell are you doing?
I'm just checking.
No, stop!
He reached for Ace's arm. But it was already too late. So before he, drugged Junpei to do this, the older man's hand with a piece of paper Junpei had balled up in his
Just
pocket.
as I thought. What exactly are these pieces of paper hiding in your pocket?
Hey, I think we should check Ace's pockets as well.
You switched them, didn't you, when we voted? Well, I can't say that I care. I managed to get through the numbered door I wanted, despite your mischief.
Then, why did you...
Oh, simple curiosity. I hope you won't think ill of me for it.
I do like Ace's characterization. I don't know that I like him as a person because he's kind of a jerk, but... Ace smiled, gave Junpei a friendly pat on the shoulder, and then turned on his heel and left. It was a small defeat, but it was a defeat. He'd lost the upper hand and he knew it. He could feel his stomach begin to tense.
Damn.
Alright, and that brings us back to the search. Okay, and we can't do anything here. So, I'll go ahead and end here. I also do think we're pretty close to the 30-minute mark, though. And also, I've been playing this game for like an hour and a half at this point. Because it's been a long, long time. Wow, I don't remember saying that before. That's a little... Alright, awesome. I kind of remember what to do. But not fully. But yeah, I will go ahead and see you next time when, in theory, we will go ahead and... I hope we'll get to the end of things, because here's where we are right now, alright? I'm noticing as I go down this path, all of the red keys are getting crossed out. Which may mean that you need all of the red keys in order to unlock the red lock, and you need all of the white keys in order to unlock the white lock. And I do seem to be getting them as we go along, because I don't ever remember seeing these keys before. And I think they only showed up when I got that ending, and all of a sudden the red keys showed up, and so did the white. So I think I'm on track to get through the white lock and finish this up. I only need to get 2 more things right, is how I think this is working. For a while I thought the keys were just to show me which path to take, but there seems to be a scene associated with each of them. Because, like, the first key was, I believe whenever you were talking to June, and she told you the story about, the, crystallization of the, one thing. Crystallization of the glyceride. And then the second one, I believe, was the Ice 9 story. And then those two were Seven remembering about the mummy, or Seven's past. He kind of talked about both things, and also Clover's whole thing about having been on the ship before. And then I think that this key is now unlocked because we had just had that scene with Clover. So I think that's what's going on. Regardless, though, I will see you in the next one. Thank you very much for tuning in.